welcome to the Jeff Rubin Show. I am Jeff Rubin, and today I'm with Sarah Pappalardo of Reductress, one of the co-founders of Reductress. We are at the Reductress office. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hey!
Sarah, help me out here. What is Reductress?
Reductress is a satirical women's magazine. So think Cosmopolitan meets The Onion.
Right. And probably the easiest way to quickly give people a picture of it, to quickly draw a picture, maybe some of the headlines or articles that you guys have posted recently. Is there anything off the top of your head? I actually have two here.
Oh, great.
I brought two.
Good.
And I wrote them in pen, too, so I really know them.
Ooh.
So two you've recently... This is from today. This was on Reductress today. I thought they were both very funny. How to explain to your boyfriend that you're crying because you saw a dog today. And woman finally finds the one to ditch her friends for. What have been like some of your superstar articles over the years that have done really well?
Oh man, this is where I blank on headlines. How to... shit. Hold on one second. Let me actually... Alright. You ready for this?
Yeah, hit me.
116-year-old attributes long life to meth and barebacking.
That's funny. So that was one of the top articles of 2015 for you.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea, like, why that one over others? Like, what do you think people connected with that one?
I think it was just a year where there were a lot of people like, look at this 120-year-old woman, and she survives on nothing but meat and potatoes and cigarettes. And it's like, there's always some story like that. And we were all inundated with that. So that might have been the mass appeal. Another one was subtle ways to let them know that your snatch can take a real pounding.
That's so funny.
It's just all in the language.
I love
it's beautiful.
Subtle. It starts. Yeah, that's a great turn.
I love pizza, which is adorable because I'm hot.
That's a thing online, right?
Yeah.
What is the exact? I think I know what you're talking about there, but I'm not sure I can put my finger on the exact observation you guys are making. What is that?
I think it's the kind of I'm a cool girl narrative that people like to put out there. Like, I'm the kind of cool girl. I'll drink whiskey and beer and eat pizza. But like, it also requires you to be hot in order to be deemed fuckable. So in your mind, like, people will focus on the pizza and whiskey thing, but it's like that's not actually what it's about. I think it's that guys want a cool girl, but they do also want her to be hot. Like, they'll say like, I want a cool girl, but like she conveniently also has to be like a 10. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that's my personal opinion necessarily, but I think that's the
yeah, I definitely recognize this as a thing. And this is what's good about the website, is that I hadn't seen that called out anywhere. I'm not even sure who else would call that out, you know? Like, I don't even know where else you would look for that kind of joke. So it's The Onion kind of plus Cosmo, right? Is that the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, more broadly, we take on all of the way that women's media talks down to women through marketing, magazines, and really every other form of media there is, too. So it's a little bit broader than just straight news satire. And when did you first become aware that women's media was talking down to women and decide you wanted to do something about it? Maybe age 16. Right. I mean, definitely like approaching puberty and well into puberty. I think we all had a firm handle on the fact that something was wrong. Just couldn't quite put our fingers on it. But I think even aside from the sort of women's magazine problems, my first obsession was with Oprah and just the weird stuff my mother would get into, like the empowerment vibes and remembering your spirit and things like that. So there was that whole corner of inspirational women's media that made my brain explode. What? You know, I gotta say, I've actually never seen any Oprah. What's I know. Well, what happens on an episode of Oprah, and how does it talk down to people? Oh, well, I mean, Oprah, rest in peace, the Oprah Show, at least in its previous format. Oprah's not on anymore? No, I think she just has a whole network now. She has a whole network now, that's right. And like a chai. But it's still the same show, but just on another network, right? I think so. Honestly, I haven't seen it. Okay. I mean, I haven't seen it in years. But what about Oprah was, or what about any of these things was like, or is there... What about them? When do you specifically see them talking down to you? I don't know if it was so much a talking down as a pandering to certain parts of what your typical suburban middle-aged woman wants or is missing in their lives, and really honing in on that. little bit.
And so when did you decide to start a website to address these issues? How long has the website been up?
We launched in April of 2013, so almost 3 years.
And how many of you, when you say we launched, that's two of you?
That was Beth and me. So Beth came to me with the idea at the end of 2012, and I was like, oh my God, how did nobody do this before? We did some furious Googling and found out that nobody actually had.
How did no one do this before?
I don't know.
That's a great question.
I don't know.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
How did no one? I should have written that. I should have had that one prepared.
Yeah.
But no one had done this before?
Not with any real effort or sustained effort. I think there's been like a couple of blogs popping up here and there, but then it's like people get tired and don't keep up with them or something like that.
Does the Onion itself ever? I mean, the Onion is pretty specifically news, right?
Yeah.
But so do they ever hit on these? Do they ever hit on this at all, or is it just they're looking somewhere else?
They hit on women's issues for sure, but they do that in specifically a news format for the most part.
Right. Where did you and Beth come from? Like, what is your background that made you decide you wanted to do this?
So I did a lot of improv and sketch. I was out in Chicago for a few years. I was here. I actually met Beth at the Magnet, and she had done stuff at UCB while she was in college, and then we kind of just met at the Magnet, did a couple of shows together, and the rest is history. Yeah,
so
boom.
From a comedy background, you decided.
Yeah.
And so you decided to do this website, and then how long did it take from like, let's make this website to it is actually a thing we are doing?
4 months.
And now that it's up, now that it's been up for years, what is your day-to-day like in doing this?
It's a mix of things. We obviously edit pieces when they come in. We put them up, so like half the days devoted to managing the site, and then the other half of the days devoted to other creative projects that are related to the brand, but not necessarily the website itself.
So wait, there's a few things to take apart there. One is that you guys have writers.
Yeah.
You have freelance writers? Is that what's
Yeah, they're freelance contributors, yeah.
And do you write, and presumably you did some writing at least Kickstarter, right?
We do, yes, we did much writing ourselves and continue to as well.
That's what so you still have a chance to do that.
Yeah.
Do you find that you're ever not able to do that because these other things are...
Yes, depending on what other projects we have on deck. Like we have an event coming up in March, and I'm sure the closer we get to that event, we'll be writing less and less.
What about like there's a website, so it's not just fun. There's like a business element to it, right?
Yes.
There's like ads. What about like all that stuff? How does that get done?
We do it.
That stuff.
We don't. You can kind of see the size of this office. There can only be so many people in here,
right.
And usually it's 4 or 5 at a time at most.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
that's crowded. There's 4 or 5 people here. It's going to be tight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't have like direct sales teams or anything like that. But
right.
yeah,
so you're doing it though.
We're doing it. Yeah.
That's what is so interesting to me, because when you start one of these things, you probably were like, this is going to be great. We're going to have this website. It's about this very specific thing that we're into. It's this great platform. It's going to be very funny. We're going to you like writing and you're doing comedy. But then it's often hard to do the thing you actually want to do because these other things.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that?
I keep asking, like, why aren't people just giving us stuff?
Right.
Like, why aren't people just throwing stuff at us? But then when I get over that, it's just... You just keep doing it every day. I mean, that's really the only difference between people who keep doing it and people who stop.
It's just that you keep doing it.
You just keep doing it, yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Do you, are you like, morning, I'm going to be writing, and the afternoon, I'm going to be business? Or do you have to context switch between the two very often?
I do a bit of switching, but I try, like, I at least make an attempt to stay close to that in my own head, because it helps focus a little better. But yeah, sometimes emails come in and... Right. Or we have to talk about Kesha or something like that, and those things just take priority.
How do people find out about the website?
I don't know every way, but I would guess Twitter and Facebook is a big one, and word of mouth is a big one. I know people in the comedy community, just like the theaters in New York and Chicago and LA, all kind of heard about it through friends, because that's initially who we reached out to for contributors.
Sure.
And yeah, I guess just the internet.
You must run into this where people who find the website, because the Onion runs into this too, people think it's real, right? Yeah. How does that manifest? Like, I guess you wouldn't really know, but if you had to ballpark, what percentage of people think your satirical website is real? Your satirical website with headlines like, how to explain to your boyfriend you're crying because you saw a dog today.
Yeah, oh gosh, I wish it were all of them because they're so entertaining, but I would probably, I mean, it's entertaining. I don't know if it's a compliment, but it shows a very clear disregard for context.
Right.
Because if you're looking to the left and the right of the post you're reading, it's kind of hard to believe. But I think that whatever percentage thinks that it's real really speaks to how excited we get as a culture about outrage. Like if you can be outraged about something, man, people just want to jump on it. They don't even care if it's true or not.
What is the dumbest piece of hate mail you guys have ever received? This is probably the question I'm number one most excited to ask you. I'm going to just throw that out there.
I mean, there's been so many fun ones, but they're always kind of hard to paraphrase because they're like semi-literate.
Right.
But I remember we received a really heartfelt one about an old post, 8 ways to blow his mind and destroy his penis.
Right.
And there were like a good handful of people who really thought we were like advocating for abusing your boyfriend. And like that, which is...
It destroy his penis was literal. That
literal.
You were like literally talking
Literal.
about like things that would harm someone.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I feel like those Cosmo articles like walk right up to destroy his penis, but then like hold it back. And you just went a little bit further and people took it seriously.
Yeah. It's very strange.
And do they send, how does they send emails? Like how does this, do someone come in with a bag full of hate mail every day?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like an occasional email once in a while, but sometimes there's just like a weird tweet that we'll see. Like every once in a while, I think there's like an MRA called like Instapundit who retweets our stuff thinking it's real.
Sure.
And then
MRA is a men's rights activist, for those who are fortunate enough not to know.
My dating pool. Not at all. But yeah, whenever he retweets stuff, like a million people think it's real. Or I think what happens is, let's say we like headlines about some sort of like quirky minutia that a woman does. They're like, see, this is why women are fucking idiots. And like, just like, see, this is exactly what I'm telling you about, man. Like women suck. And so it's just fueling their weird fire, but that's their choice.
I apologize because I brought it up with like a little bit of glee, and I was like happy to hear about the hate mail. It sounds like it's not too.
You mostly get a kick out of it.
Yeah. It seems like you are also amused by it, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
that's healthy and good. And like, if you guys weren't getting hate mail, you'd probably be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Do you find there's a lot of men that read and enjoy the site?
Yes.
I'm one. I can tell you about one. I'm one. But do you have any sense of like what the male readership is?
Usually people who are just a little bit media savvy, so they know what we're referencing, which, all it takes is just spending a few hours on the internet every day.
Yeah, it's weird. I've certainly never purchased a women's magazine, but I still like get the references. You know, like I know how I kind of get the tone. Do you have men that write for the magazine too?
Yeah.
For the website too?
Yep.
And then are they good? Are they as good?
Yeah.
Well, how do you do it? Because like, is it coming from a different perspective? Or are they able to like make sort of the same observations? Are you able to see something different about what men write for your site?
I guess I can't really paint a picture for like all men, but there are definitely a few pictures that come in that I'm like, ooh, this could have only come from a man's point of view.
Right.
And we usually don't accept those, but I think there are plenty of guys who totally get it and get the landscape.
If only there were a comedy site where we could express a man's point of view.
That is one of our most popular pitches from men who have never pitched to us before, and they're like, hey, let's do a column that's from a man's perspective. And like tens of people have pitched that.
You mentioned before that you were like talking about like other related projects that aren't exactly the website. What does that look like? What are those? If you can talk about
Yeah, I can talk about a few of them. We have a show at the Bell House next month, March 17th.
So what's a live show for the Reductress like?
We have a bunch of stand-ups, and we do some original stuff. We do some panels with people in the media and comedy world and in the feminist spheres, and really just put together kind of a show that we would be entertained by.
Right. So do you do stand up for that? I guess you were saying you have something of an improv background, so you're involved in that?
I personally don't do stand up. Our editor Anna Dresden does do stand up, and she hosts them most of the time. But yeah, I mean, if Beth and I get involved, we usually just do a little bit or something like that, but I don't do the straight stand up. I'm not going to start. And
then what do you think the point, how does the show help the Reductress brand in your mind? Like what is the role of the show? What's it doing for you?
They're fun.
They're fun.
Yeah.
And is that all it has to, that's enough, right?
I mean, yeah, you want to promote your brand, and it's one way to do it, but it's definitely not a return. It's not like the kind of thing where people go to your show and start reading the site consistently. It's usually the reverse. So it's kind of just like reinforcing this world we're creating, where women's media is crazy, and we try to just poke at it at all angles.
The name is terrific, Reductress. Where did you come up with that? Or how long did that take to come up with? Like, I get where it came from, but like, it's really good. So was that difficult to come up with, or was it right away?
Beth and I just wrote a bunch of names down, and I think I got to give credit to Beth on that one. That was the one that we were just like, yes, that, and there was like no more discussion about it. But yeah, it was just like we do most things in a Google Doc, just spitting stuff out until we find something that sticks. And
then you just decide you were happy with it.
Yeah.
So there's you, there's Beth. How many other people are like working on the site on a day-to-day basis?
Usually 1 to 2 other people plus an intern.
How do you guys divide up the work?
It depends on what we're working on, but Beth Anna and I all edit and write. Everybody writes. Beth Anna and I edit, and then Beth Anna and I also work on other projects as well. So pitching stuff for video or writing the podcast or something like that. Anything in that sphere. When
you started the website, did you think it was just going to be like a fun thing? Like, we're just starting a Twitter account? Or were you like, let's start a website, let's get an office, we'll take ads? Like, did you see the whole picture? Or did you ramp up into that?
Well, I think it was one of those things where we knew at first, we're like, if we don't go 100% on this, someone is going to very easily steal the idea and do it.
It is a really good idea. It's a I keep saying it, but yeah.
But not the most original, until you get to the execution part. So we knew we had to kind of go ham on this, or it just really isn't worth doing. So I wouldn't say that we were like, oh, we're going to have an office and like be a business, because we really, it could have gone the totally opposite way. Just, we had no idea. But we knew that we had to at least take a stab at making it look like we were big and professional. And so that's why we designed our own site and built it custom, and didn't go through like WordPress templates and stuff like that, because we knew we wanted to build something a little bigger than just a blog.
And so the office was like right away, like you were like, we gotta get some.
Not at all. Oh my god, no. We worked from home for a year, where I mostly was just like, what is the internet? And I just Googled and Googled and Googled, and we were just figuring a lot of stuff out. We did a Kickstarter about a year in, to raise money for a redesign, and then by the time that redesign got up, then we started taking things more seriously and easing into a very minimal co-working space.
You mentioned the execution. The execution really does seem like it, and this was why I was so impressed with your website, and why I thought I should have you guys on the podcast, is because I don't often have. There's not a lot of episodes of the show where we have comedians, because there's a lot of podcasts out there. Yeah, that is. There are, because there's a lot of podcasts with comedians. But what I thought was so interesting about this is I've seen other people over the years do The Onion. Like, there's a lot of people that have done The Onion, but I've never, ever seen The Onion done well by anyone besides The Onion, except for you guys. I think you guys have, it looks easy what they do, right? Like, to come up with the funny headlines or whatever. So, I don't know. How conscious of you how did you do that, I guess? Do you have any idea? How did you manage to pull that off?
I think
tough question. Sorry, very abstract question.
No. It's a good question though. Beth and I are really picky people, and I think it's something that can be good and bad. And I think in this case, it's good that we had some time to sort of practice being editors as the site kind of grew over time, because I wouldn't say that I was a tenth of the editor that I was when we first started out than what I am now. Like, I learned just by doing it, but people talk about like the aspirational achievement gap, and it's just like, I think when we first started, we knew where we wanted to be. We just didn't quite have the tools to do it. And just the more you do it, and the more you at least try to expect more of yourself and of your contributors and what you can do to make something better, the better it gets.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you, what do people not realize, just creatively, like editorial, putting aside the business stuff for a sec, what do people not appreciate about what you do at Reductress? Like, what is difficult about what you do here that people don't necessarily see?
Let's see. I mean, there's the tech side of it.
Sure, that's
so,
another piece. Of the
yeah, I
business.
mean,
Like,
that's
this whole other thing you gotta learn.
yeah, because people be like, oh, so like you just like put up a WordPress template, right? And it's like, well, no, there's like a lot of
and like integrating ads. Is, like, a
yeah,
thing.
oh yeah, and you know, I used to be like a web producer, project manager, so I kind of had a handle on that. And it's just it's a lot of like tedious stuff, and it's not something that you can just like jump into. So that part's tricky, and I guess other than that, it's just like the consistency is a challenge. Attempting to stay up with the news when you don't have like a staff of 20 to be pitching you constant ideas. Like it's really easy if you've got 20 seasoned writers pitching you stuff on a current event. It's another thing when there's 3 of us in the room, but yeah, that's a challenge. Just working in a with a really, really small team is a challenge, but I think we've done all right.
You've done pretty good as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And what are some of those other projects? We got distracted when we were talking about the podcast, but you mentioned web video. Video is a thing. So what's up with you guys in video?
Nothing we can talk about right specifically, but yeah, we do work with other brands here and there, and make some branded video, things like that.
So branded video, that's a thing for you guys. You got to be in branded video these days.
Yeah, man,
That's
it's the only way. It's the only way. Yeah.
So how do you do that? I mean, that's like a whole other thing where that's even different than like getting banner ads for your website. Like you got to like go talk to a brand and like pitch them your ideas and all that. Like that's like that's a full-time job too, right?
Yeah, but we also have been exercising our pitching muscles for that and for other stuff too, and you just kind of get in a groove with people you're used to working with. And
is it tough to work with brands because you guys are kind of sarcastic? Cynical, sarcastic. What's the word I'm looking for?
No, I mean all that works. Sure, yeah.
Is it tough to work with brands that way because you have to? I don't know, you got to like be somewhat genuine for it to deliver their message, and meanwhile you have a certain percentage of people who think you guys are a real website,
Yeah.
So how do you bridge that gap?
It kind of depends on the brand, but I think that like the root of what we do, or at least when we're attempting to do it well, is there's always like a nugget of relatable truth to a woman's life, and we try to hone in on that like specific thing when we're trying to make a joke.
And then, so videos, live shows, where else is the reductress transmedia empire going?
So we're launching a podcast in March.
Ooh,
yeah.
So what's the podcast going to be about?
So imagine my aspirin.
Goes aspirin over
weird. There. Imagine a podcast in the world of Reductress.
What just happened, and we don't either. I'm sorry, keep going.
Yeah, this is true.
Podcast in the world of Reductress. So it's not like, so it's fictional.
Yes.
It's like in universe. Like, Welcome to Night Vale, maybe.
Yes. Not as thoughtfully written and magical, but yeah, you could say that.
When does that come out? March?
We don't have a launch date yet, but it will be in March.
And then, is there anything else, or have we covered? I think we got all the different types of media out there.
Yeah, that's all we can talk about right now. Oh, there's the magic and mystery you're looking for.
Okay, so I want to understand more about the thing that you're satirizing, these women's magazines, because I'm kind of a dude's dude, so I don't really know much about this world, and I just, like I said, like I feel like I recognize pieces of it, but I feel like you are now becoming, whether you know this or not, an authority on it. Oh. And so you said you've been reading these since you were 16. Do you like women's magazines? I imagine you have to keep up with them at least a little bit for here, but do you enjoy if this didn't exist, would you think you'd still be reading them?
No.
So not at all?
Not at all, no.
None of them? Like, just no, there's no women's...
Well, now that the way we consume them, it's not really like you pick up a magazine and flip through it. It's like if someone posts something relevant or ridiculous, you read it. So I'm kind of publication agnostic in that way.
Have women's magazines changed over the years now that you do consume them differently, and there's, social media or whatever, so have you seen them change over the years, and how?
Yeah. Two big things is, one, obviously clickbait has affected the way people construct headlines, and sometimes...
Do you think it's affected the stories they tell too?
Yes.
How so? Because if headlines are different, I can probably live with that, but if the actual substance of what's being discussed is different, that seems potentially bad.
Sure. well, there's two parts to that. There's one is the confessional culture, where publications really want people to confess things and tell their story, no matter how weird it is.
That was always a thing in women's magazines, though, because here's something I know about women's magazines: Trauma-rama. You gotta have trauma. Like that was
absolutely.
That's like that was a major feature in whatever magazine that was in, right?
I mean, it was when I was growing up. It was more of like a back page thing, and now I feel like it's fueling the fire so much more.
I don't know. I only think it's a big deal because I am aware of it, and again, like I never really like sat down with a women's magazine, but I was like very aware of Trauma-rama. You know?
So, because we loved it. We couldn't get enough of it, but there was only like one page of it,
right?
And then I think the internet again just like ruined it all and gave us too much of a good
so
thing.
now there's no like editor, so there's like there used to be at least a filter on the Trauma-rama, so they were like at least sort of fun, maybe. I don't know, but now they're like you read someone's confession on the internet, it could be anything. So like there's websites that are explicitly for confessing your darkest secrets, like Post Secret or I don't know, there's others.
Exojane. Yeah.
But you're saying even like within media that trend has infected it.
Sure.
So how, like, what do those look like? What do those stories look like?
The kind of the confessional stuff.
Yeah.
It's usually just like, think of the most ridiculous thing that has ever happened to you that maybe you don't want to share with people, but there's always someone who will share it for approximately $40 to $100.
So then, how have been some ways? That's funny. That it's not even. So, what are some ways that you guys have like satirized that with Reductress?
We just make them even more ridiculous. We have a lot of fun with our first person confessionals.
But how do you make them even more ridiculous?
I don't know if there's really one approach. Sometimes it's just making them so unbelievable, and that like it's not so much the thing, but how fiercely the character defends themselves.
Right.
And like the tactics they use to defend themselves. Like Anna wrote a piece called "We're Piercing Our Baby's Tongue. Here's Why," and it was just like, the character was a juggalo and just like gave all these insane justifications for like why it's right, and that was really where the humor was. It wasn't like necessarily the headline itself.
How did you guys meet Anna? How did you bring her into your merry troupe?
She just started showing up one day. I don't know.
Is that right? Does she come from like New York comedy scene?
Yeah. She's in the scene, and she's also a story pirate, which I think might have been the connection. But back in year one, we would just meet up with a bunch of writers at someone's apartment, and she came, and she was great, and then we just brought her on because she's fantastic.
How many pitches do you guys look at for each one that actually makes it to the website?
I don't know the number. I know we look at like 50 to 70 pages worth of pitches each week. I don't really know what that translates to. Maybe there's like 20 pitches on a page, so you can do the math. It's the end of my day. I can't multiply.
And then how many do you pick actually for the website?
Anywhere from 40 to 60. So I guess you could, yeah.
So
I
like
guess
10 a day is a lot. Or 10, somewhere less than 10 a day.
Yeah. Ideally, we really want to be doing like 40 a week, but sometimes it just goes a little bit over.
Sometimes you just get crazy.
We just go wild and we can't say no. Yeah.
I'm actually looking around, and I'm surprised I don't see like a big stack of Cosmos somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
Do you guys like? I'm imagining the process would be something like take a Cosmo, open it to a random page, and like make fun of the thing that's there.
That is what you'd think, but the thing is, print Cosmo especially, and magazines like it. It's so redundant that you would really just be satirizing the same trope that's in the magazine every month.
So you only need one Cosmo to do that forever, basically. That's so funny. I mean, Cosmo's been around for like 100 years or something.
Yeah.
Like, it has like a surprisingly deep history, right?
Yeah.
But then, how do you keep the site, if the source material, like the things you're satirizing, like are so redundant? How do you avoid that trap on the site?
By interacting with how people are talking, what people are doing, what people are saying, what current events are happening. That all factors into it. We're not so focused on those really fundamental tropes of online magazines to begin with anymore. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of the beginning. I think, like, if this were like a pilot to a TV show, like the first season is just about the thing, and like let's just like look at these characters, but then it just becomes about like reacting to whatever's happening in the world, and that's really just kind of what we're doing, is reacting to what's in the world.
The inputs, kind of the things, they can come from anywhere now, you're saying.
Yeah.
And I guess that makes sense because everyone talks down to women. It's not just women's magazines, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what fun. What a delight.
I know.
What a fun thing to stumble over. Do you ever look at men's magazines? Do you have any interest at all in men's magazines? Maxim's hilarious. You gotta check it out. Oh, they had a great article.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I only like passively look at GQ because a couple people we know write for them, but I don't. Yeah, it's not. I guess I don't see a lot of crazy stuff in there, but I'm sure it's just as crazy.
I don't think it is, actually.
Yeah?
Well, I don't know. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, I kind of have always thought that women's magazines seem dirtier, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I think they seem dirtier. Certainly in the writing. Like, men's magazines probably, I don't know. In the pictures, they both have a lot of pictures, right?
Yeah.
But the women's magazines, I feel like the articles are 10% sexier, at least.
Yeah, definitely. I don't really know what it is. If it's just that we're like the bigger consumer market, that we just get like hounded upon a little more aggressively. But
yeah, I don't even know if they make men's magazines anymore. Like I don't even know if GQ is GQ. I guess it's a men's magazine, but it's almost like, is it like? What I was gonna say it's general interest, but I think that's just because I'm a man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would read it and relate to most. I mean, like one of our writers writes for them, and she just wrote about that girl who wrote an open letter to her CEO at Yelp. So, like, that has nothing to do with men.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is I feel like you would find more you're interested in GQ than I would find I'm interested in Cosmo. You know? Maybe. Like, it seems like it's a little more general. I don't know why that is, though. I think Maxim still exists, but, like, I don't know if there's, like, a Cosmo for dudes anymore.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could really go down a rabbit hole of why men's magazines are more general interest, or why we perceive them to be more general interest, and why that's like the dominant narrative, and we're just like, oh, that's normal, but women's magazines is other.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried that I'm saying that because I'm a dude, so to me it seems general interest, but I do think that's the case. Like, it's about, like, I don't know. Well, I was going to say, like, watches and cars, but I guess those are, like, guy things, you know?
Yeah.
They're not about, like, your balls, though. Like, there's nothing there's, like, no, like, they never write about your balls in there.
Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know.
Is it because you guys get to pee together? Like, you just knock that all out in the bathroom?
No, there is strictly socially forbidden to, like, just strike up a conversation at the urinal. That is, like, not cool at all. There's no talking in the bathroom.
I always thought it was like a power broker situation where that's where the deals are made.
No, that's on the golf course is where we do most of that. How do you guys, like, so you post 10 articles a day. How do you know when one is doing well? Like, what is doing well? Is it just like views? It's doing well, popping on Google Analytics. What about, and I always think these are fun, like, things you thought were going to do really well. Like, are there any where you're like, oh yeah, this one's got some heat on it, and then just no reaction?
There's nothing in recent memory, at least, that I can think of that just bombed. Like, some stuff that maybe just did okay instead of great, but I can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
What about the other side of that? Like, ones that you did not think were that exciting that actually turned into, like, major exciting pieces?
Those tend to be the ones that people think are real, and then it gets footing because of that.
Is there an article that prompted the most feedback from people who thought it was real?
Yeah, I think it's we're piercing my baby's tongue. Here's why.
That's insane that was...
Yeah.
Why, like, what, of all the things, like, that's so...
The anti-circumcision people got on board. For some reason, they thought it was about circumcision.
Oh, that is cool that they found that they found, like, an interesting...
Yeah, I mean, it's not true, but, I mean, it's a valid interpretation.
Well, you know, whatever is in the reader's mind, you know? Like, there's no wrong answers in art. If they think it's about circumcision, maybe it is.
Yes, if they put that in a paper, I'd give it a B. I'd say that's fine.
I guess that almost reflects more poorly on society that people think that's real. Like, people shouldn't think that's real, but we live in a world now where it might be. It might be.
Yeah.
And isn't there a goal of, you want it to sound real, right? Like, that's what makes it funny, is that there's, like, some truth in it. So you want to be, like, 95, or I don't know, there's this, like, Goldilocks zone where you want it to sound real but not real enough. Is that how it operates?
I don't know. Maybe there's some magic formula there, but I just go by feel.
Do you have a personal favorite headline that you've posted, or article that you guys have posted?
I don't know. There's so many.
That's a great answer. Just that there's a lot of favorites is good.
I like a lot of stuff, and it's such there are a high volume of them, so sometimes it's hard to just pick one.
Well, how about this? Do you have like a favorite subject to pick on, or like target thing you like to attack, or format?
My favorite is probably, I really like the confessional pieces. I really do. I just have a thing for them. I don't really know what it is. I think it's because they irritate me the most in the real world. So,
is there like a go-to example? Well, actually, how do you explain you go to a family get together or whatever? How do you explain to everyone what you do?
Oh God,
what do you tell them?
I just try not to talk about it. It's so like, because the people who do know don't get it, and so they're just like, oh, that thing you're doing, like they're so confused. I try, but it's just, I'm like, I'm doing great, it's fine, but nobody gets it. One of my aunts was like, oh, I went on Reductress the other day, and she just like stated one of my personal tweets, so I'm like, okay, I don't even know where to begin there.
Yeah. Do they think it's real? Like, you probably have relatives you think it's real, right?
I know they think they know it's comedy, but I don't know if they understand what satire is necessarily. So they're kind of, I think all they see is like penis and vagina and all that dirty stuff, and like that it's just some garbage, which it is. It's garbage. But I don't know. I don't know what they think, because I don't know. I don't think they get it.
That's sad. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
but I don't know. Your relatives don't have to understand what you do. Is there like a go-to example that you use to try to illustrate what the site does?
No. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of really like well-intentioned and nice family members, but none of them are in comedy or even like the arts.
Where are you from?
I grew up mostly in New Hampshire, but my family's from Boston.
That's. I don't know why I was like, oh yeah, Boston. They don't get it at all. No,
I mean, they theoretically they would, but it's just my family. They just don't do comedy.
One of the ones I really enjoyed, and I wrote this one down too, because you ever see a funny Onion or Reductress headline and you want to tell someone about it, and you just like completely slaughter it in the retelling of the headline. Like, you kind of get the joke, but you get the words wrong, and you ruin it.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to do that here, so I took a moment to write them down. This one was: woman receives threats, intimidating response to accidental butt tweet, which is so funny. There's like and the picture really sells it, which obviously I can't do, but there's a picture of just, an accidental, just series of letters, and then guys responding like, fuck you, die, et cetera, et cetera. Did you guys get, like, first of all, that's very funny. And I saw a lot of people sharing that one for whatever reason. Like, was that a particularly popular one?
Yeah, it was.
That's great that we live in this world where everyone knows why that's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any backlash from that? Were there any, like, actual threats that you guys got from that?
No, I think at worst someone might have been like, ooh, the social justice warrior is out again.
Right, sure.
So there wasn't much there.
And then another one I love is whenever you guys pick on Disney princesses.
Yeah.
I wrote down, I picked a few, what Disney princesses would look like if they were stick figures. This artist drew what every Disney princess would look like fucking your boyfriend. Which Disney princess would your boyfriend rather be with instead of you? I'm sensing a theme. Yep. Disney princesses with realistic lymph nodes, which I think is so funny because it implies that they have lymph nodes, but they're just not realistic. Like, what would they look like if they were realistic? What's up with Disney princesses? What's the deal with that? And I should say, I used to work at BuzzFeed Video, so you
probably know the answer.
No, I don't know if I know the answer, but I know I've been involved in a handful of Disney princess projects, both at BuzzFeed and College Humor, and I know there's like some juice there, and that like people. Well, here's what I know about it: is that like people respond and that it works. Mm-hmm. But what I don't have a great sense of is why. Like what the greater thing that we're hooking onto is there. Do you?
Yeah, I think little girls were raised with Disney movies and identifying with Disney princesses. Just look at Frozen and Elsa. Oh my God.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I was raised with Disney movies, but I didn't like identify with Aladdin or Simba or anything like that.
I mean, I wish I had an answer as to why no one ever. Maybe it's because the princes are always just kind of like. I mean, I guess Aladdin's kind of like Aladdin was pretty cool and Simba was pretty cool, but like nobody identifies with like the prince and Cinderella. Nobody's like, wow, what a like multi-dimensional like. He was just kind of like.
Well, he's not the movie's called Cinderella. It's not his movie.
Yeah.
I guess, I think for, I love Disney and I have great nostalgia and joy for it. But I don't know, like, but the Disney princesses seem to like occupy this like unique role in pop culture. That's like, I don't know, somewhere between like art and Barbie. Like, it's not all the way on the Barbie side of things, but it's like maybe not a far cry, or at least it's, I don't know. Does that sound possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's just enough detail to like create some sort of character, like just enough that you can be like, I identify with her because she doesn't have legs, or like something like that. That there's just enough juice there that you can attach yourself to. And I'm sure, working in the quiz world, it's just like, this is just a way for people to talk about themselves without talking about themselves.
It's true. I should specify I worked at BuzzFeed Video, and so I am unfamiliar with quizzes. I can't tell you much about quizzes for what it's worth. But, like, yeah, that's true. The quizzes are quizzes in general. And quizzes really, I mean, quizzes now have had something of a second life on BuzzFeed. But these really come from women's magazines, don't they? Like, I feel like the quiz is, Cosmo, like, the quiz to surface some personal trait about yourself. Cosmo almost invented that, right?
I don't know who invented it, but yeah.
Like they owned it for a long time, right?
Yeah,
or
they
women's
really.
magazines did anyway. I don't know if it's Cosmo. They're kind of my go-to example here, but
at least since I've been alive, they've all been doing it. Because I mean, what better way to just like promote insecurities than just asking you a bunch of fucking questions?
Oh, that's so funny. Is that what they do? They promote insecurities?
Like, some would say.
What's a typical women's magazine quiz? Like, what am I going to find out about myself?
I don't know if I can give an example, but I definitely know that they're usually like fear-based or like about a guy you're going to meet. Like, it's either like, do I have HPV? Or like, am I going to marry a guy with HPV?
Do I have HPV seems like... a magazine quiz seems like a bad way to determine the answer there. There's we definitely have like a proper test for that, and it doesn't come in a magazine.
Yeah.
Was it a sharing thing before the internet where you like, because now, like you said, I think a lot of the drive is like, you want to announce like, hey everyone, I'm a Gryffindor, check it out. Like I said, I'm a Gryffindor. Is that different than what drove the quizzes in the magazines? Because now there's like the social media element of it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's new, or have they evolved?
I think it was the same, but on a much smaller scale. Like,
you would tell
like,
your friends,
like be at the beach with your friends, and share your answers.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I mean, as the situation, I feel like we have gotten media savvy enough that like a lot of media, even though there's tons of garbage and tons of bad stuff out there, in a lot of ways it's improved, right? Like, there's a lot, like TV's better than it used to be in a lot of ways, and maybe some other things are too. I'm struggling to think of another example. Women's magazines, are they any better now that there's the internet and like people thinking about these things a little more, I think, consciously? And I don't know, has it helped the situation at all, or are they as bad as they've ever been?
I think they're better. I think that there's definitely more of an awareness of diversity, and that, there are more ways to live a life than just be married and be at home and be beautiful or whatever.
That's
so there's
really
a little
cool
more,
that they've improved in that way.
There's more options. And, they're also kind of like latching onto feminism. But with that kind of just comes the problem that they're still trying to sell things, and they still need to sell themselves. So, focusing on insecurities and fear and oversharing tend to still dominate the narrative, but in a different way.
Right.
So, yes, they're better, but, I think that the problem is inherent in the format, and I don't know if we're ever going to get out of that, working in the internet. So,
do you think, I'm crediting the internet, but do you think the internet is responsible for that push into like diversity and these other positive directions they've gone in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's the great equalizer in a lot of ways where, at least in theory, everyone can say what they want. So we are at least aware that those voices are out there. Of course, then when you get into like Facebook algorithms and stuff, then there's the scary part where you only start hearing your own voice and people who agree with you in an echo chamber.
That's true.
That's another thing altogether.
But I think overall, it seems like we agree that the internet has given voice to a lot of people that didn't have a voice before. And that,
for sure.
And that is, I think pushes forward. Is there any like topic that you guys have? What was a topic that was particularly difficult to crack for you guys? Was there one where you were like, we got to do something about catcalling? Or I'm sure you've done 1,000 things about catcalling, but like just like something you knew you wanted to do, but you couldn't figure out a funny way into it.
I think at first maybe it was the Dove marketing campaigns, and then every time a new Dove marketing campaign comes out, there's like something we find a way to do. The last one was this was almost a year back now, but they made this ad where these women were to choose a door. They were either supposed to go through a door that said beautiful or like not beautiful, and all the women were hesitating. So we did one called like new Dove ad makes women choose between door that says beautiful or tiger.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean it was just it depends on the campaign, but.
Like, are those Dove ads? I mean, that's one where, like, they seem to have some, look, from my outside perspective here, they seem to be genuinely positive. They seem to be better than basically, better for society than most ads out there. But they're doing that thing you said, which is like, they still got to sell something at the end of the day. So do those ads bother you? They're still trying to sell
they don't
soap.
really, they don't keep me awake at night, but yeah, like there was one.
Do you consider them, I mean, are you cynical about those ads? Because those ads are so not cynical,
Cynical about everything. So yeah, I mean, like the latest one was like, all these girls with curly hair talk about how they like don't love themselves, and so all these girls were brought in, and there was a big band playing a song about curly hair, and they were so happy, and I was like, wait a minute, like since when are girls with curly hair oppressed? Like, so they're really, really reaching now for like any little thing that like might make a tween girl feel slightly uncomfortable for a minute, and just like really honing in on that like feel good advertising.
Didn't you guys have one about the FBI ad they did? I think I saw that as I was clicking around the site last night.
FBI.
They did this FBI sketch artist ad.
Oh yeah.
Where I had to like do some background to like pull apart what you guys were talking about because I hadn't seen the original ad. There was then I mean, it's a pretty good viral video idea, I got to tell you. They had women describe themselves to a sketch artist, and the sketch artist drew them, and then someone else look at a picture of them and describe them, and the sketch artist drew how the other person described them, and then the women look at both of them and see how they see themselves and how other people see them, and lessons are learned, I suppose. And then what was your guys' take on that?
I'm gonna botch the headline.
That's interesting that even you will botch, even like from your own site. Like you botch your own headline.
I mean, I can see the sketch in my head, and I know it was from a couple years back. I mean, I can look it up. Do you want me?
No. It's okay. We don't need 100. What was the joke though? What was the joke?
God, I'm blanking.
We should look it up then.
Yeah.
We got to finish the story.
Yeah, you would think I know 4,000 headlines, but for some reason
I don't have them all in your head.
I knew it was like so simple. Dove sketch artist leaks drawings of the women who are actually ugly.
What about future for Reductors? Like, would you guys have a vision for where this thing's going?
Yeah, back to Oprah. Whatever she's doing, we want to do.
I guess you're not really in trouble of running out of source material,
this is
even
true,
though we're saying
right?
it's like repetitive.
Right down to the goddamn chai.
What about Jezebel? Like, is Jezebel a thing to be satirized? Are they a force of good? I don't know anything about the website. I come in with no preconceptions. Like, that sounds like a loaded question where I'm asking you to make fun of them. I don't know anything about it.
Oh yeah, no, they're kind of in the snark field, so like we wouldn't really parody snark. I don't know how to do that. And I think they are well intentioned. So I mean. Everyone has their
force of good. We're
I guess so.
Force of good stamp.
Yes, no nuance.
So that's good. Yeah, you either get a force of good stamp or we throw you in the garbage.
Yes.
It's cool that you guys are able, in satirizing things, to surface and observe these things that kind of warrant being made fun of and maybe make people more conscious of them. But it's also interesting that a lot of these sites that are starting or that are evolving are to a degree, getting better, and that you guys, it seems like you guys will have to stay in front of them. You have to keep evolving yourself.
Yeah, there's no shortage of problems in the media, fortunately.
Do you have any thoughts about maybe it sounds like not a men's magazine website, but like something related, like kind of like The Onion does Clickhole, like what Clickhole to this website?
Yeah, maybe. It might be down the road.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. And the podcast comes out in March.
Yes.
And what else can we promote here? Twitter account is @Reductress.
Yes.
The website is reductress.com.
Yes.
What else? What are we missing?
We have a show at the Bell House on March 17th.
I cannot promise this is going to be out. Oh, March 17th. We should be out by then.
The St. Patrick's Day Wellness Retreat at the Bell House.
That's fun.
Be great.
That's fun. So if you're New York, do you know who's going to be on that show?
Yes. We're going to have it's a huge lineup. I honestly, I wouldn't even begin to say the names now because there are too many and I would forget them all.
Wow.
But yeah.
That is hype.
Yes.
And that is March 7th, you said?
17th.
That is March 17th at the Bell House. The website is Reductress. The person is Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on the show, talking about the website.
Thank
It's
you.
so funny. It's so funny. Great job.
Thanks.
That is your Jeff Rubin show for the week. I will be back with another episode in 2 weeks. And boy, am I excited about this one. Okay. So remember the Nickelodeon Takes Over Your School sweepstakes from the 80s and 90s? If you don't, do yourself a favor and search online for some of the commercials. This was a sweepstakes where if you won, Nickelodeon would come and take over your school. And next week on the show, I don't have anyone who won the contest themselves, but we will be talking to 3 people who were at a school that was taken over by Nickelodeon, and they have some stories. There are Nickelodeon celebrities there, and this is one I've been looking for a while, and I'm super excited that I will be able to bring it to you in 2 weeks. And you will know about it first if you follow me on Twitter, where I'm at Jeff Rubin Show, on Tumblr, on Facebook, on Instagram. You know, it's the whole thing. 2 weeks, Nick took over my school. I'll see you there. Bye.